Hello, my name is LegoMan71 and welcome back to another episode of Mauling Mocs. I've wanted to have this video out a few days ago to mark the 1-year anniversary of this series, but I was unable to thanks to life and college and just still trying to get adjusted to some things. But without further ado, please enjoy part 3 of turning dinosaurs into Bionicles. It has been several months since my last data entry. Before I discuss the several new species we have discovered, a quick progress update. Our research facility has successfully been built with minimum casualties, mostly due to the fact that we have made sure to stay out of the territories of major carnivores. Planetary sensors and atmospheric satellites have been set up throughout most of the planet, with aid of our scientists back on Spheres Magna and our allies in Hero Factory to ensure that this moon remain a biological preserve, mostly untouched by the rest of the galaxy. Our expedition to the northern west hemisphere of the planet to study the migration behavior among species was successful, and we began an expedition further south. The species we found were incredibly diverse. Not only did we discover a new genus of creature, but multiple species in the genus within this very landmass. One particular species was quite distinct. It was roughly about 3 meters tall and 10 meters long. It had a massive tail and an extraordinarily long neck compared to most species we had previously discovered. Along its neck, it had blade-like spikes, which we saw it used for both defense and display. This large specimen traveled in herds up to 12 individuals. They seemed to eat leaves from higher up trees and branches. We also noticed how they would lower their heads down and graze on the grass on the ground. But when there are large plant eaters like this Amargasaurus, large meat eaters are never far. Now originally I wasn't going to add notes to this video, but seeing how I finally have some time on my hands, I'm just going to point out some things that I thought while I was building this. Now, originally I was going to do 2 different types of bladed weapons along the neck for the Amargasaurus' spikes. I later swapped those out, rearranged some pieces to where it would fit, be almost seamless transition. I used the Mata torso for the foot. Actually, the entire design for this dinosaur came up with a mock contest that I want to enter on Pilotosaurus's Discord server, where you had to make it was a Mata torso contest. You can make anything you want, it just had to have one torso somewhere in it, and I decided to use that as the feet for this big old honkin' beast. Now, the main thing that I had trouble was the body design. As you can see, this is a heavily technic torso body design, and it took me a very long time to figure out, okay, how do I connect this? How do I connect the leg? How do I make the neck fit and transition into the back? And as you can probably see, that there is not much beyond like the 2 pieces on each side covering the shell, which is I believe that is a Visorak shield or something like that. I don't really remember, but I do know that the axe is from the Skull Smasher Lego set, which I had for Bionicle G2. As for the head, I wanted the jaw to move, so I connected some system pieces with Technic pieces, allowing it to move up and down like a jaw, and that's kind of all I have for this one. On this primal, primitive world, there are many dangers to be aware of. One danger was that of the apex predator Aloe Magnus. This large, ferocious creature is a major force to be reckoned with. At 16.5 feet tall and 40 feet long from head to tail, this creature is a skilled hunter, fast, agile, and equipped with many serrated sharp teeth. And what makes this animal more fearsome is that it can hunt in packs. While I have often found lone individuals of this kind hunting, Aloe Magnus is no stranger to hunting in packs with up to 6 individuals. It has very distinctive horn-like protrusions above each eye, which I estimate to be a natural source of shade for its eyes from the blazing beating sun. Its bite force does not seem to be fairly strong in comparison to other predators on this moon. Although I have observed their hunting tactics, I have seen the Aloe Magnus use its neck muscles to swing its head like an axe, bludgeoning its prey with its sharp teeth and head, making this a very deadly addition to the biodiversity on this planet. Now for this model, I definitely wanted to have a carnivore of some sort, and I was debating on either having the Allosaurus, which is what I went with, a Amargasaurus, or a Mapusaurus. Seeing how I had a hard time trying to find a good reference image for Mapusaurus and learn about the Mapusaurus, and how the Amargasaurus I think could be used for a later video possibly, I went with the Allosaurus, which I believe is a really good choice, seeing how this was the apex predator of the Jurassic period. Now, this thing was huge. I mentioned in the lore that it was relatively the same size as the actual Allosaurus, being 40 feet long from nose to tail. This thing was huge, it was fast, and in the lore I also mentioned how it swung its head like an axe, probably when it was hunting. That's from actual speculation from paleontologists. If you ever watch a documentary like Walking with Dinosaurs, or Jurassic Fight Club, or the Big Al documentary, you would often hear the paleontologists say that it did not have a strong enough bite force, which means it probably swung its head, bludgeoning its prey. I'm pretty sure now that theory is discredited, but I'm not 100% sure on that, and so I just went with this. And besides, it's a biomechanical dinosaur on an alien fictional planet, so who really cares? I mean, like, come on. But yeah, once again I used the Ash Bear head designed by Galva on Thingiverse. I find myself using that a lot for builds of carnivores, but I think it's just such a great base to design off of. But I will try to move away from that in the future. Although I do think that the modifications I made do give it a little bit more of an Allosaurus look, and it could possibly be used for other dinosaurs that may have horns on their heads. Another thing I did for this creature was I used the Toa Metu torso part as one of the parts of the legs, like that weird middle knee part of it. Legs like that are very weird. I don't know if it has 2 knees or if one's called a knee, one's called another thing. I don't know that much, but I do like the design that I used for that. Lastly on our travels, we came to the coastline of a large sea. Up high in the sky, we saw at first what we thought were very large birds. But as one folded its wings and plunged towards the waters below, we noticed that it was far too large to be a normal bird. As the creature returned to the surface with several fish in its large blade-like bill, it seemed to be some sort of flying reptile. Not necessarily a dinosaur, but a reptile nonetheless. Then another dove down. Then another, and another. Then soon there was a huge feeding frenzy of these creatures. After some time had passed, the flock sat on the rocky coast basking in the sun as they digest their feast. It sat at 5 feet tall with a wingspan at approximately 14 feet wide. It seemed to primarily eat fish, but as we got closer to them, they would begin to act very hostile towards us, leading me to believe that these are very territorial animals. And Vraxon, what is it? What do you want? I'm in the middle of a mission update. What do you mean the satellites are going haywire? Okay, now that lore was very, very short. Mainly that was due to me wanting to get this video out way earlier and a combination of writer's block. I didn't really know what much more to say other than it was a Pterosaur Bionicle thing. At the end of the lore, I mentioned the name Vraxon, which is the name of the self-mock of a buddy of mine. Goes by the name _Yeet. The underscore is part of the branding, according to him. And I asked him if I could use Vraxon in one of my storylines as like a multiversal doppelganger. I'm getting a little bit too ahead of myself in the lore for the next time I do something related to Bionicle dinosaurs, but I just wanted to drop that off, let y'all know that a little bit. Onto the mock itself, I used the Metru torso again in this model, except I use it as like the base body for it. I used a bunch of Technic fin wing things. I don't know the correct term for them. Panels, I think, for the wings. It's a very big wingspan for a small-ish, well, I'm not going to say small, mid-sized Pterosaur. The actual thing, I don't know if it is actually that long of a wingspan. That's just what I was making, and that's how it was coming out. As for the head, I was looking, I was just scrolling on one of the many Bionicle Discord servers I'm part of, and I came across this one mock that was by Bionic Vulcan 76, who came up with this design called the Dread Runners, which are like these Troodon like raptor things that run around Aloe Magnus. And I really like the design for that, so while I was working on, I think it was the Amargasaurus at this point, I was just scrolling there, taking a break from building. I saw this design, I was like, you know, that would be perfect on a Pterosaur. So that's where I got the design from this. Full credit to him. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. But yeah, this is based off the Maadactylus. 2 A's right there together. It's a very weird name, although a lot of Latin names are like that. And now that I am finishing this up into the editing process, I cannot remember if that flying pterosaur has a tail or not, which may be a missed opportunity if it had a tail. But if not, it's too late now. I'm not going back. This video is already way later than it should be. And that'll about do it for this episode. Before I go, I want to thank you all for 95 subscribers at this point. We really blew up in the last couple of days. I want to thank all of you for sticking with me for this long, and I have much more still planned for the future. Well, until next time, I end the transmission now.